Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into some totally mind-blowing source material from M's Strange Truth to understand why time isn't, well, exactly what you think it is. You know, we go about our days trusting our clocks, our watches, our phones, totally assuming that a second is just a second no matter what. But what if I told you the very fabric of time is actually flexible? We're going to explore the literal bending of reality today, and I promise you, by the end of this, you are never going to look at a ticking clock the same way again.
Okay, so let's start with this impossible but entirely real scenario. Imagine you and your best friend go out and buy two identical watches. You sync them up perfectly, right down to the microsecond. Now, you decide to stay right here on Earth, just going about your normal daily life. But your friend? They take their watch and spend an entire year up in space. When you finally meet up again and put those watches side by side, they absolutely do not match. The person who went to space is actually younger. And I don't mean they just feel younger or look rested from a cosmic vacation. I mean they are literally physically younger. It sounds exactly like a sci-fi movie, but this is actual reality.
And that naturally leads us to a pretty mind-bending question, right? Could you become younger simply by moving faster? I mean, if hitting the cosmic gas pedal can actually alter the aging process, then literally everything we assume about our reality needs a second look. Section 1. The illusion of constant time. The myth of the universal clock. To really get how this is even possible, we have to let go of this very ancient, very human assumption. For thousands of years, we've operated under this super logical idea that whether you're grabbing a coffee in New York, walking through Tokyo, or freezing on top of Mount Everest, a minute is always exactly 60 seconds. We've always imagined time as this giant invisible clock in the sky, just ticking away fairly and equally for absolutely everyone everywhere.
But before we break down exactly why that universal clock is a total myth, I want you to think about your own reality for a second. Is there a place on Earth where you're aging more quickly right now? Just think about exactly where you're sitting or standing at this very moment. Is your specific location actually accelerating your age compared to someone sitting somewhere else?
Section 2. Einstein's impossible idea. Bending the fabric of reality. It actually took one man to completely shatter that universal clock illusion we just talked about, and he did it way back in 1905. That man, of course, was Albert Einstein. He proposed something that sounded completely absurd at the time: relativity. He stated that time isn't fixed at all. Instead, it behaves a lot more like a stretchy fabric than a rigid wooden ruler. It can stretch out, it can slow down, and it can speed up. It's totally malleable. And according to the math, there are really just two variables that dictate how your personal clock ticks. First, how fast you're moving. The faster you travel through space, the slower time passes for you. And second, how strong gravity is around you. The stronger the gravitational pull, the slower your clock ticks. Now, this wasn't just some fun thought experiment to do at parties. Einstein made concrete mathematical predictions, and scientists spent the entire next century testing them. Spoiler alert, he hit the nail on the head. Section 3. The astronaut who aged slower. Physics, not magic. Let's actually look at how this astrophysics translates to humans with an incredible NASA experiment. Meet the Kelly brothers. They're identical twins, and NASA saw a totally unprecedented opportunity here. They sent Scott Kelly up to the International Space Station, where he orbited the Earth at a staggering 28,000 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, his twin brother Mark stayed grounded right here on Earth. At the start of this whole thing, being identical twins, they're perfectly synchronized in age. But over the course of nearly a year, because Scott was moving so incredibly fast in orbit, his time literally stretched. When he finally came back to Earth, scientists measured the difference. And Scott was literally milliseconds younger than Mark. Now, sure, that difference is tiny. It's way too small for the human eye to notice, but it was absolutely measurable by modern instruments. Time legitimately slowed down for him. And this bizarre physical reality brings up a massive, weird question. If time isn't universal, if my clock is ticking differently than an astronaut's clock, what does right now even mean? If our clocks literally cannot agree, is there even such a thing as a shared present moment? Section 4. Relativity in your pocket. Why Einstein is in your phone. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's really cool for astronauts going 28,000 kilometers an hour, but what does this have to do with me? Well, you don't actually need a spaceship to experience this. If we take two super sensitive atomic clocks and we leave one down at sea level, but hike the other one all the way up to the peak of Mount Everest, they're going to tick at different speeds. Why? because gravity gets weaker the further you move away from the center of the Earth. So the clock on Everest experiences slightly less gravity, which means time moves ever so slightly faster up there. There are literally billions of clocks on Earth, all taking at slightly different speeds depending on their elevation.
And here is exactly why that matters for your daily routine. The GPS satellites orbiting our planet are way further away from Earth's gravity, and they're moving incredibly fast. So they experience time differently than the clocks down here on the ground. If scientists just ignored this and didn't program Einstein's relativity equations into the system, that tiny little mismatch in time would cause massive errors on Earth. Everyday things you do, ordering food, booking a cab, using Google Maps to find a coffee shop, the whole system would just completely break down.
I'm not kidding. Without those relativistic math corrections, your phone's GPS location wouldn't just be off by a few inches. It would literally drift by several kilometers every single day. The entire digital infrastructure of our modern world absolutely depends on the fact that time is flexible.
Section 5. Why your mind bends time. The psychology of the ticking clock. Now, physics explains exactly how atomic clocks behave, but it doesn't explain why your own brain actively manipulates your feeling of time. There's this fascinating duality to our time perception. Just think back to your childhood. Why did those summer vacations feel like they lasted a lifetime? Well, it's because everything was a brand new experience. Your brain was highly active, recording incredibly rich memory details to help you learn about the world. But then, look at adulthood. We settle into these totally predictable routines. We commute, we work, we sleep. There are just fewer standout novel moments. Because your brain isn't recording as much dense new information, we look back, those years just seem to completely disappear in a flash. It's such a fascinating parallel, isn't it? While physics is out there literally bending atomic clocks and the fabric of the universe based on speed and gravity, your own memory is actively bending your psychological experience of reality. You're basically experiencing two completely different types of time dilation at the exact same time. Honestly, the strangest takeaway from this whole explainer is that you've been experiencing time dilation your entire life without ever even noticing it. Because of these tiny little variations in gravity and motion, everything operates on its own isolated clock. Every single mountain peak, every commercial airplane flying in the sky, every satellite in orbit, and yes, even every single heartbeat. Literally nothing is perfectly in sync.
To wrap this all up, I want to leave you with this profound realization straight from the source material. Time feels deeply mysterious to us, not because we lack precise instruments to measure it, but simply because the very fabric of reality refuses to let us all share the exact same present. You exist in your own unique bubble of time, slightly different from absolutely everyone else's. It's a strange, amazing truth about the rules of reality itself, which leaves us with one final thought. If the universe guarantees that your experience of time is entirely unique to you, how are you going to choose to spend your right now? If this kind of mind-bending science fascinates you, definitely check out more from Miss Strange Truth.